Jai Hind and welcome to Dev Talks. This is Adi Achint. With me is Lieutenant General Ravi Shankar, who's recently written a very interesting article about the rise of India. If I may just change the title a little bit, so it's a little, uh, easy to kind of comprehend because your title was heavy, if I may to
Okay,
begin with.
okay.
So, thank you so much for joining in. Jokes apart, this is something that we guys have actually spoken about on the show. There have been multiple questions on this with regards to the efforts which are there. There is a certain sense of worry which is also there amongst the people with regards to the rise of India. Are we actually going to rise? So, welcome to the show, sir, and let's begin.
Thanks a lot, Adi. A good evening, or a good morning, or a good afternoon, wherever people are watching us. You've taken a very interesting subject which I've written on. It's called the Geoeconomic Rise of India.
Yes, sir.
But this is the second article which I've written. The first article is about the rise of India as a third pole. Both these articles are on my website. Go to it, and uh, in fact, they're all linked. A lot of links in it. uh, have a look at it. And I would request all viewers to really read these articles, because the logic of what is written, I've always felt is more important than the logic of what we speak. You know, in my opinion, the spoken word is a lot of hot air. The written word is cold and clear. So read that. Okay. Having said that, uh, we have to understand India is a rising power. I mean, that's a fundamental. And I'm not talking of a rise which has come about because of a system or a political party or a set of people.
Or even a
I'm talking
country.
of I'm talking of a people, all of us as a nation state, whichever whatever you want to define as defined under the Constitution of India. We are rising, and that is immutable. I mean, it doesn't matter who talks what; it will happen. I'm I'm predicting it, uh, not based on certain facts. This is what my view is, and this is my experience over the past 30, 40 years. I mean, this is what I've seen. Of course, it's a lifetime experience, that's a different, but from my understanding of the geopolitical situations and the way things have developed over the past 30, 40 years, I am sure that, say, in another 20 years, I might not live to see that day. India will be a great power. So you can start this topic from whichever way you want. I'll take it on.
So, basically, see, a great power would be defined in a lot of different ways depending on the way you look at it. A lot of people would call a great power a power that is heavy on economics and military. A lot of people will call a great power that is heavy on influence. Uh, 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 I mean, above than great power would have pretty much everything. Now, we have a certain influence, that's for sure. So let's talk about that first. The Indian influence across the world, sir.
Let me put it a different way.
Please, sir.
Okay, okay. We all heard the term comprehensive national power from China.
Yeah.
Okay, they say it's the comprehension is of military, diplomatic, economic, etc., etc., etc. We also know the components of hard and soft. There are two: power is hard and soft. Soft power is what Professor Nai put out, soft power, and of which India, I think, has tremendous amount of soft power, huge. As far as hard power is concerned, if you look at the economics, the military, the geography itself is a constituent of the hard power. The military geography of a place is a constituent of hard power, which not many people talk of, and we are blessed with it, right? Uh, and then, of course, the issue of diplomatic power and the acceptability of India, you know, in the international forum. So you put all these together, You see, and you see the plot the trajectory over the past, say, 30, 40 years, and you'll see it's all rising. So, to that extent, India is a growing power and it will become a great power in times to come. I hope this fundamental fact you understood.
So,
Yeah.
so
Now, yeah, okay, go ahead.
no, you mentioned acceptability, and that was a very interesting word for me. So why don't we just elaborate a little more on that? Because acceptability seems to be the key today in terms of stuff around the world.
Yeah, I agree with you. Acceptability factor is due to our historic linkages with the world in general, with people in general, and the growth of our people abroad. And that is one thing. The second thing is internally also, India has always been seen as a land of peace, not a hegemonistic area.
Mm, mm.
Okay, not a people who go and conquer others. So acceptability is huge. You also have to understand that the Indian diaspora has done very well wherever it has gone. Whether you look at the West Indies or the East or USA or wherever, and in fact, if you look at it outside India, the number of heads of state or important people in various situations in various countries are Indian. Actually, I would put it this way: let's compare India and China. Okay, how many uh, heads of state or important people are there of Chinese descent outside China? Except probably somewhere in Singapore, you had a Liu and one odd. But you look at India, you look at Ireland, Leo Varadkar, you look at USA, Kamala Harris, and a whole lot of
Rishi
senators.
Sunak.
Yeah, a lot of Rishi Sunak. These are three major things. But you look at other places. You look at Singapore, you Maldives. You look at a whole lot of places where the Indian diaspora, people of Indian origin have come up.
Africa, a
Okay,
lot of places.
Africa. I mean, you had some great cricketers from the Caribbean, like Rohan Kanai,
Yeah.
Indian origin. So this Indian footprint is a lot of historical and civilizational. Okay, so you have this imprint, and plus the fact that your acceptability also stems from the kind of religions which you exported to people out abroad. So all this, if you put together, your acceptability factor is very high, and this is something which we have to understand. And many of us don't even know about this, or rather, we know about it, we are not conscious about it.
See, the acceptability is something which is again interesting because when we travel to countries, acceptability. I mean, I've had Indian food on a gondola under a bridge in Venice.
Yeah,
I think that's what I'm trying to say. The acceptability of the Indian-ness is pretty much easier
evident. Yeah, it's very
to
easy.
the world.
Yeah, because largely we are a benign power.
Yeah.
We are not
No,
malignant power who wants to expand. We're not
or exploit.
aggressive,
Or
exploit
exploit. Yeah,
or exploit.
that's one of
Okay,
the, I think, yeah.
and we are a people who go with the situation in that country and amalgamate ourselves with that lot wherever we go. So, but the fact is that all these guys are fundamentally Indian, right? Genealogically Indian, civilizationally Indian, with the values and culture which we have exported and it is there. You can't escape that. And mind you, this is one aspect which I have not touched upon in all my writing. I've written,
Yeah,
I've spoken about the harder facts.
that's what I, before I come to that, I wanted to get this baseline across because at the end of
Yeah,
it, it's the knowledge of India that will actually gain more acceptability around the world. I mean,
I agree with you. I completely agree with you.
When people know, oh, India.
Look, let me give you a personal experience. It's a very small experience, but let me. I was doing a course in USA 14, 15 years back, and I was talking to our course coordinator, an American lady, quite a knowledgeable lady. And she, when I spoke to her, and that was a time when India Pakistan, where the our rivalry was at the peak, or rather, our animosity was at its highest levels. There was a Pakistani officer also doing the course along with me then. So it just came about that we got into this discussion between India and Pakistan, and that lady told me, "Look, Indians, they're very good. Well, they're so progressive. Some of the best minds here who are propelling our economy are Indians." And we're talking of California, Silicon Valley in that context. And then it just so happened, coincidentally, this Pakistani officer walked across when we were discussing. He was going in with somewhere. I asked, "What about him? What about?" And I just pointed a finger and said, "What about implied Pakistan?"
Yeah, yeah.
So she said, "All shady carpet dealers."
Excuse
That's
me?
the carpet dealers.
Ah,
So that's the view. That's the view. I mean, that's the power which we have, which we many times don't understand. And in fact, found that a lot of my professors, took time to interact with me in at great length at that time. And I'm not talking about recent phenomenon. I'm talking of 2008. Yeah, 14 years now. So we have a lot of depth which we don't understand.
that's interesting because that also brings to mind the comparative between India and China. And just 60 seconds on this, I want your opinion.
Look,
India and
okay.
China with regards to people.
Uh, Again, let me give you a contemporary example. You look at the major social media platforms with which we are all familiar with. Okay, Google, Amazon, not Amazon, yeah, Microsoft, even Twitter.
Yeah,
Just take three, which are everyone knows. It's on everyone's laptop,
fingertips.
desktop, or fingertips, or front of the mind and memory. Who are the CEOs? Indians. Have you found one Chinese CEO?
Few, very, very rare.
Why? Is there a people's issue? Is there a trust issue? I mean, I can expand this three people whom I've said to other Pepsi and XYZ. Do you find the same thing with the Chinese? No. So it tells you something. It tells you something far more than we ourselves believe in.
Let's try
Right?
and understand that, sir. Now, we've
Yeah.
spoken about certain facts, and I want to start talking about the belief system. And I'd like you to kind of elucidate the facts that you've written in your article, because the underconfidence that one sees with regards to anything that is happening in India. I mean, if you right now is it's COVID season back again because our friend China is, for the lack of a better word, going up in smoke. So obviously India is also wondering, यार ये क्या भेजेगा अभी यहाँ पर.
Mhm.
So the
I got it.
underconfidence which we saw during our COVID times, I mean, and the result after that.
Look, I mean, you look at COVID itself. China came as the savior of the world. Today, the world has to save it.
If it lets it.
No, well, that's a different story. You don't know. Whoa, they already started importing German
German
vaccines and
vaccines.
stuff. Yeah, under some carb. Okay. They declared victory over virus. It's gone. Yesterday it was a micromanagement. Today it's a micro neglect or macro neglect.
Macro.
Yeah, macro neglect. From
Yeah.
micromanagement of COVID to macro neglect. The state has let its people down completely. Okay. Uh, so that's the kind of a state which China is. But is it the same with India? We had problems, there's no doubt. We had huge problems during COVID, but today you're out of it completely. Yeah, COVID will continue. COVID is not going to run away. It's going to be an endemic. But is it a threat to India? No.
No.
On the other hand, I think we've come out far stronger than, in fact, the rest of the world. If you are one of the fastest growing economies in the world today, and this is predicted not by me, by 1,000 people more. I am not an economist. I mean, let me put this. I would like to show a couple of slides and then I'll go back to. Can you
Let's do
put
that,
up?
sir. Let's do that.
Yeah, do that.
So, guys,
Yeah,
sir is uploading the slides. Like this
yeah,
video.
it's
No,
there. It's there already. You have to upload
no,
it.
it's not come, sir, as of now. Still
Yeah,
uploading, I guess. Yeah, now it's come.
yeah,
Guys, please like this video. Check your subscriptions. By the time, yeah, the slide is up. Right. Let's go, sir.
yeah. You know, if you look at this slide, it's this is a data from JCER, Japan Council of Economic Research, which is the latest one which has come out on international figure. This shows that Japan's GDP will not overtake that of US at least till 2035, and I don't think beyond that. The rightmost one is important. There's always going both Japan and USA and China are going to grow parallel to each other with a gap. Okay, the forecast in 2021 said that it will, by before 2030, the crossover will happen. Into the forecast in 2021 pushed it back to 2035. Now, thereafter, now it says it will not happen. So, virtually, you're going to look at it, China in a stagnant phase. Okay, now I'll show you one more thing. This is what um, again they put out in that same paper. By 2025, JCER expects India to top Japan. We're not talking far away, just 3 years hence. Okay. And by 2030, 30 or so, Deutsche Bank has put out a paper which says we will be at $7 trillion
Yeah.
and the third largest economy. Okay. So this is something which, mind you, the predictions earlier by logistic equations, etc., was this will happen in 2047. All of a sudden, this is reversed. Why is it happened?
Actually, I was going to interject to ask you that. So,
Yeah.
thanks.
So
Thank you,
this
sir.
is the important thing. Now take the slide off, and we'll get into that.
I want to ask you one more thing, sir.
Yeah.
Connected to this, 2020, if I
Yeah.
could request you to take your eyes there. After the dip, now 2020 is the time we were still in the pandemic. It's not that
Yeah.
we came out of it.
Yeah.
So from there, the build-up is there. So please
Yeah.
go on, sir.
There is. See, the fact is that what you said, we went through a crisis, and we are coming out of it. And this has been our history, which many people don't. We have always, India as a nation has always faced adversity. Let's look at Japan, Germany, and China. At the end of the Second World War, Japan and Germany were economies which were completely destroyed. They had to be restarted. And mind you, these were developed societies at that point of time. Germany was rebuilt through the Marshall Plan.
Yes, sir.
And Japan was built through a three-stage model, which was put together by MacArthur and the American system at that point of time. But they were rebuilt. It was a developed system, broken, rebuilt. All in a matter of about 10 years, the rebuilding started. They could take root easily, and they progressed. Great. Look at China. They were aided economies, assisted economies. They were taken into the American fold, part of the system, American system, military system, security system. They have had a peace dividend of 75 years, immutable. Look at China. Till 72, China was languishing. Till 90, it was still going on that way. It was only after 90 when the four modernization theory came of Deng Xiaoping that they started uh, growing. And their growth was completely assisted by the Western countries and USA.
Absolutely. Mm.
Today, when it is their growth is being opposed, they're going down or rather stagnating. They were also an assisted economy. They were not an opposed economy. Okay. And they've also had a peace dividend. In fact, if you see Deng Xiaoping's writing, he said it is only by avoiding war that we can progress and become a superpower. A lot of logic in
Yeah.
his talk. This
Mm.
fellow Xi Jinping has reversed it
No
completely.
talk. Yeah. He doesn't have any
He,
talk also.
Deng Xiaoping said that look, you avoid war and progress. The more by 5 years, then by 10 years, then by 25 years, and by the time you're in the middle of the next century, you'll be a superpower if you grow economically. And mind you, this I had researched as part of my higher command dissertation. When 25 years back, I found a lot of sense in what he said. So they've had a peace dividend of 25 years, which Mr. Xi Jinping is breaking. So they'll go down. Now look at India. India was a fully developed economy, say circa to the 1600, 1700, till the Britishers came and the colonialists came and broke your economy and your culture and your values completely for a period of over 2 to 300 years. Your entire system and belief system and value system was broken. 1947, when we got our independence, we virtually inherited a broken system with two enemies, China and Pakistan. You went through horrendous wars every.
15 years.
Why 15 years? 47, 62,
Yeah. I
65,
mean,
71,
64. Yeah. That
90.
was a terrible
And
decade.
then a proxy war for over 2 decades, which is not completely gone.
And standoffs and
And yeah, standoffs and all. As a nation, we were still young. We're still a young nation. Through all this consolidation, and we had the worst growth rates, we had the worst political systems we had to go through on our own. I wouldn't say the worst political system, we had to evolve from whatever we thought of ourselves.
it was a
Uh,
terrible political time. Let's, yeah.
Look,
Fair,
I wouldn't say terrible political time, it's an evolutionary time. We
fair
had to
enough.
evolve
Mm,
as a nation.
fair
Okay,
enough.
I won't blame anyone because they did what they
No,
wanted the best. We were, we had floods, we used to have typhoons, we used to have earthquakes, we used to have all kinds of, we used to have tsunamis, not tsunamis, cyclones. We didn't have food to eat. We didn't have many things, but yet, and what's most important, you're under huge sanctions at every
yeah.
stage. At every stage, we were huge sanctions. We were an opposed economy till the turn of the century. Even then, we were not an aided economy. Even today, you're not an aided economy. Despite all this, we grew. We continued to grow. You might say, oh, till 90, we didn't have the economy, we didn't have this, we didn't have that, our political system is broken, there is corruption in the society, there is poverty, so many things you can talk of. Yes, but you grew still. Despite all this, you grew and you continued to grow. Your military never let you down. It always projected. the nation in the best terms. You had your own nuclear power, you had your own missile capability, you became self sufficient on food and milk to that extent that today you are the biggest milk producer in the world. Operation Flood and the Green Revolution. From a nation which didn't have water to drink, there were famines.
Yeah,
You have sorted yourself out. Okay. You had a democracy. You had adult and universal suffrage without caste, creed, color, basis, gender. You could call it a weak system, but it has withstood 75 years, which not many countries can
yeah,
boast of.
they don't.
You might say today that, you know, democracy is at risk, but democracy is always at risk at every point of time in every nation. But our people have come up.
That's a perception, sir. I mean,
Yeah,
I
no.
find that argument very ridiculous in either direction, actually.
So the point is that despite a lot of odds, mammoth odds, you had poverty, the ebbs and you know recession of poverty. You fought through. Whatever you've done, and you're today the fastest growing economy. You're the only alternative to China in terms of weight and scale. If you, the, India is the only counterweight to China today. In fact, it's a counterweight a lot. The Russians, which is another great power, can't virtually exist without you today.
Absolutely.
Okay, they have their interdependence between Russia and India has been great. You're acceptable to the east. You're acceptable to the west. You're acceptable to the Middle East. Very s- ni- uh, 2 days back, I read an article. Iran is offering a strategic partnership to India, which is similar to that of China.
China.
Why? Why? I mean, one has to think why.
Balancing.
No, but why? They could have gone to another place. Why India? That's the point. That's the point. What the point I'm trying to make is why the acceptability factor and X, Y, Z. You are a, the fact that you are a power is something which you have to understand. Why go that far? Go to Afghanistan. Taliban wants you there, and they're attacking Chinese interests. And China and Pakistan put the Taliban in power in
Place.
Afghanistan.
Mm, mm.
They don't look at China and Pakistan for anything. कि भाई उधर देखो. Their people are
They look at it
attacking
for
China.
land. Land दे उनको वापस.
So they are looking at India for whatever reasons.
There's a big difference, yes, sir.
The fact what I'm trying to make out is that we have to believe in ourselves. I read an article uh, in the Foreign Affairs magazine written by one of our ex-economic advisors. He says why India can't replace China, and I put this reference in my article
Yeah.
very purposefully. Why should India replace China?
Exactly. Why?
Why?
I don't want to be another China.
I don't want to be another China, and this is the concept which some of us want to think of. We should be India as it existed long back, and we have to progress on Indian terms, not on someone else's terms. Look, I'm not being a nationalist. I'm not being political. I'm not being theoretical. I'm talking practical, on the face, what is happening in
Reality.
front of you. Reality. I'm talking of history. Look, I did mention a point about military geography. Which other country has an ocean named after it. And why? Neither did Mrs. Indira Gandhi or not nor Mr. Modi name Indian Ocean as Indian Ocean. It is centuries old.
I don't know who would
Uh,
have named it also. My God,
there
that's
is there is no American Ocean, there is no British Ocean, there is no China Ocean. There is China Sea. It tells you the the position of India, the military geography of India. You can't run away from it. People talk China will come into Indian Ocean. Let it come. So what if? You cannot be moved away from here. So many people have come into this land. They've only been absorbed and assimilated, and no one has gone back. This is history. I can assure you, if the Chinaman tomorrow comes into India, he'll become an Indian and forget being a Chinese.
there are loads of them.
Why? Okay. So if you look at a lot of things in perspective, uh, I don't see how India can sidestep itself. You have to have the confidence that you have arrived. You have to have the confidence that you will have corruption. You have to have the confidence that you will have to continue dealing with poverty. You will have the confidence that you will have to deal with lousy politicians. That's okay. And that's your history. Don't run away from it. Face it and continue, and you're there. What is the biggest strength of India? It is people. And I believe in them. Right? So this is my view. Yeah.
I'm gonna just ask you a little question, and after that, I'd like guys, please start with your questions, comments, or whatever your thoughts are about what sir said. Uh, my point is a simple one, and I'm gonna just put it out there. So, there is because of our history and because of whatever. I'm not talking about history as in like medieval history and all that stuff. I'm just talking about post-independence history where we've had issues about delays, about this and that and the other. Uh, we still have a certain malaise, which is part of the game. Uh, I also want to point out that till a certain point of time in the past, about 2 decades ago, I think people started demanding and saying, enough, let's start doing something for ourselves, which was not the case quite a while ago. I mean, before that. So it's like uh, it's a sense of development of the mind, which comes through maturity of a nation. When it becomes to a certain age, people start, you know, okay, this is what we need to do, and this and that.
Uh, yeah, I think so. I mean, look, a lot of this came about for the simple fact that we were independent to do what we wanted. We had to make a choice of our own, and we made whatever choices. And the
Yeah, it
fact
was
that,
here, there, and then fair enough.
yeah, you had to do, and you had to do on your own. No one was there to assist you. See, one of the things where that India was virtually thrown in the deep end of the pool to swim itself out, and every Indian swam it themselves out of it. We went through tribulations. We went through periods where, you could argue that political system of that time did the wrong choice. The political system of this time is also doing the wrong choice or
Yeah.
the right choices, whichever way you want, depending on which side of the political divide you are. But that doesn't take away from the fact that you had to work on your own and you did everything for you on your own and you came out of trumps on your own. You had problems, there's no doubt, and you'll will continue to have problems, right? We'll uh, look. I um, I'll get back to this COVID. At the start of COVID, at the start of COVID, I still remember somehow this uh, phrase and this whatever was said then had stuck to me, in me. It was 2020, and let me read it out, from my mobile. It There's the words of Michael Ryan, who's the executive director of WHO. Okay, in March 20, he said India led the world in eradicating two silent killers, smallpox and polio. So you have a history, okay? In the past, it has a tremendous capacity in eradication of the coronavirus. And he said eradication. The point what he made was he said in eradication of coronavirus. He didn't speak of controlling it. He didn't speak of, uh, you know, whatever, solving it. He said eradication. That's the confidence he had in India. 2020. Prophetic. The same guy, I read his statement about China very recently, yesterday, day before. He said this problem in China was there. It has just only come out now.
It's only surfaced right now. Yes,
It's
sir.
only surfaced, and it has surfaced in a manner it has overwhelmed China. Okay, it has just overwhelmed China. So you have to understand what I'm talking of. We are a people who can weather a lot of nonsense and get ahead with life. So unless we have this belief in ourselves that we matter and people need us, the world needs India. It's not the other way around. I'll put it the other. Okay, it's not for O- President Obama had said this will be the most defining. The Indo-US strategic partnership will be the most defining partnership of the century. We didn't talk of the Sino-Indian, Sino-US, Sino-US relationship. Then Putin very recently said India is to be a great power.
Great power.
Why? I've told you the example of Iran already. You will be criticized, you will be called pedantic, you will be called everything. But the fact is that people recognize that you're something more than what they're talking, right?
Somewhere down the line, I really feel that the world knows more about us and our growth than we do.
Than we do. Yeah, I agree. I think that's a very important thing which you mentioned.
Sorry, but that's just
Yeah, that's a fact. It's a fact.
because you see people talking about India, and you feel that warm feeling in your heart, like, yeah, this is damn good. And then you switch on to an English TV channel, and some guy is going lambastic about some this thing, and you wonder, yeah, what the hell is this?
Yeah,
Because the world today is recognizing India's potential and is coming to India.
look, the world has already always recognized India's potential. It's only we who have not recognized our own potential. Okay, I
Prolific.
mean, I have no doubt about it, and it's in the nature of societies and the world and all. Everyone thinks he's the greatest, and his word should be heeded by everyone. I don't agree with it, as far as and I'm not interested in being the greatest. I'm interested in being good Indian, be my way, live my way. Let every Indian rise above poverty. Let every Indian live in peace.
That's an interesting statement. I'm not interested to being the greatest. Now, when you look at the US, they say we are the greatest country in the world.
Let
So
them be.
that's
Let them be.
that's the
Let them be.
difference. That's the
Let.
difference.
We are not interested in doing that. I
When
don't
an
think we.
Indian walks in, sorry,
Yeah. Yeah, yeah. We are not interested. Our prime minister keeps talking of Vasudeva Kutum.
Vasudeva Kutumbakam.
Yeah, why?
That's
There's an
that's
essential truth. It is what is he doing? He's only reiterating something which is told on our scriptures. Which which nation has told Russia that this is not an era of war?
on the
Has
face.
on the face.
And then
It's
had
not,
the Russian president say, "You're a great power."
yeah, you're a great power.
That's true.
It is not a. It's not the matter of Mr. Modi saying. It's a matter of India saying.
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. So I think,
I think.
let me just say this. It's been a damn deep conversation,
Yeah.
and it's exciting. So honestly, I'm not able to control certain things because it's so exciting to listen to a right thing about India, which is something that I
Yeah.
think we need to speak about more.
People say mirror, mirror on the wall, who's the fairest of them all? Okay. The mirror, our mirror has been telling India is it, and we don't believe our mirror.
झूठ बोल रहा है.
ये तो झूठ बोल रहा है यार. ये तो पागल है ये. ठीक है.
Absolutely. I
So
think that's,
that's our status.
sir,
Okay.
I think, you and I are in some frame of mind today. The prolificness of this conversation needs to be. I'm going to transcript this conversation because there's certain things that we mentioned are very, very important that we need to kind of remember that the underconfidence and stuff like that. Guys, let's get into the questions. Of course, I'm going to do the spiel about like, subscribe, bell icons, and if you can, please do help out the Dev Talks efforts, Sir's website, gunnershot.com, and mine, thedevtalks.com. Let's get into the questions. I'm sure you guys will have some interesting comments. I can see right here. First one, sir, by 2028, can we call India a developed state?
Yeah, it depends on what you call development, right? You have to define development. I think we are a developed state. We are a developed society, uh, and we are a progressive society. Okay. If you're looking at development from being a great power, there's a different story. If you're looking at from, okay, let me put it in my way, different way. The weakest link in a chain defines the strength of the chain. The weakest link of India's chain is that person below poverty line who needs to live well. The day he can do that, we are a developed state. It doesn't. I will not
Absolutely.
put a date on that. We
Absolutely.
have to. That's what we have to eradicate. We have to eradicate hunger. We have to eradicate poverty. It's not that we have not done it. We have done. I think we have done tremendously well on this score. But we need to do more. Yeah.
Absolutely. I think, and so here's a comment. So, chicken butter masala is very popular in restaurants in Lhasa.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. It would be chicken butter masala. I think is popular everywhere. Yeah.
All over the place. Mandar says Pakistan has good mines. Only Indian mines are good used in good applications, while Pakistani mines are used in bad.
Mandar, while I agree with you, but today is not a binary between Pakistan and India. Okay. Let Pakistan be where it is, do what it wants. There's no comparison
Yeah. I think
between
that's
India and
something we need
Pakistan.
to stop.
Yeah, we need to just forget about Pakistan for a change. And this time is soon going to come and we stop forgetting about China. Unless, of course, China reminds us that we are here and we want to do what we want,
Knock,
then we'll
knock.
knock, knock. Yeah.
Indian diaspora rise to high position because Indian state doesn't use them for spying or things like that. They contribute to the society they live in.
I think that's a very important
Very
thing which
important.
Kaushik says. We contribute to the society is there. People trust. There's a trust factor in the Indian people who are in those societies. Okay, which I think is tremendous, right?
I
I
think,
think it's a very valid point.
yeah, very, very valid. Kaushik, I mean, honestly, this is a very interesting comment that you've given. Shady drug dealers is the same impression they have of Iran as well.
Well, that's something which I'll not comment on.
Not a,
Not, I mean, I mentioned it in the thing as to how India is seen.
understanding.
Not,
Yeah.
yeah.
Foreigners tell me they get attracted to India for a few things: culture with a lot of colors, spirituality like Buddha, welcome and hospitable attitude of the people, accommodative and non-invading history.
Yeah, I agree with him completely. Completely. I mean, and let me give you something else, some other thing. You go to Angkor Wat. Angkor Wat is the biggest Hindu temple in the world, which is not no more. Uh, uh, what shall I say? It's not a live temple. It's an archaeological site. It's in a land which is not traditionally Indian. It's in a different country, Cambodia. People in that areas have stopped considering Hinduism, or there's no Hinduism prevalent in Cambodia. But despite that, that is being taken care of as one of the greatest archaeological sites. It defines that country. When you talk of Cambodia, you talk of two, three things. One, of course, is Pol Pot and all the destruction and
Yeah.
all the genocide which he did against his own people. That's the communist way. And then you have Angkor Wat and the Indian-ness of as a treasure
Yeah.
till date for them.
Even Indonesia and all that. So
Yeah. No, so what I'm trying to put across is the difference how two different cultures have shaped a, a nation.
indeed, absolutely so.
Yeah.
So our reputation has been muddled with a lot of negative press. The young generation has a poor opinion about a culture. They are deeply misinformed.
Well, the young generation always have a poor idea of their culture because they're young. They'll learn. And it's good to a certain extent because when you say we don't have anything, yeah, wo, all that, you start learning about it. You start reading about it. As you gain experience, things will change.
Or
The
you do
young have
something about it.
you do something about it. So
That's
I'm not too worried about it. It's the choice of the youth to rebel, and we should allow them to rebel. Let them get old. Let them, let them get that experience and maturity. Things will stabilize. So not an issue.
absolutely so. Two-part question, sir.
Mhm.
Sir, about being a superpower, one of the most important thing India needs to do is invest in huge education, especially IIT, IIMs, AIMs, and other streams of education. We in India keep seeing our people going outside. Now imagine the increase in soft power when people would be able to train and educate leaders of other countries. We need to invest in education.
I agree. We need to invest in education. Let In the same way, there's a counter to this. Unless our people go outside and study, how will you impress their societies? Unless you people go out, how will they get knowledge back? That's happening. The other part is also true that people have to come to India and learn. Okay, and we need all the things which Ame has said. I am completely in agreement. We need to invest more in quality education, not a factory kind of an education, right? So there is a lot of value in what Ame has said, and I'm sure as time goes by, it will happen.
But on the other hand, sir, I also agree with what Yash is saying here. To our education system must be also praised, which is 1,000 plus years old.
Yeah,
Our culture, basically.
yeah. There's no. Let's let's be balanced. You need to have a
Yeah.
balanced thing. Our system has not let us down for over years, and the fact is that our system was broken. You are on the mend. It will take more time. It might take another century. It might take another 2 centuries. But now you're on your own. You have to do it on your own. You don't have to copy someone else's system. Let's do it on our own. Let's do whatever we have to do for ourselves the way we want to do it. Sure,
I
we'll
think,
stumble. That's okay. Yeah.
yeah, I actually, sir, I was just about to say that. I'm sure we're going to, you just said it before me. Kaushik has said something really prolific again, sir, and he says, I want India to become a country where we focus on our problem and their solution. If we do that, we will automatically become a country with our own mind, and focus is more important than any tag given to us.
Look, uh, at the core level, we have done things which are best suited for us as per our environment. Okay, I just told you about Green Revolution and Operation Flood. Okay, we are a food secure nation. We are a food surplus nation today. Again, for anything better than that, let's compare with China. China, for all its economy, is still a food insecure nation, right? It doesn't have food security. It still doesn't have technology to make its own seeds. Whereas in India, you're spoiled for choices, right? So there is something we have to learn from these fundamental things. Okay. You're a country which has used your water to irrigate the complete desert state of Rajasthan. Which other country has done it the
Yeah.
way, at the scale at which you have done? Yeah,
I
you'll
think
talk of
Gujarat,
Israel.
right?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, right up to Gujarat, and even complete North Gujarat. I mean, you have to go to those places to see how water has changed the complete landscape of that area, right? Uh, and you have to understand that you are doing it at a scale which has never been attempted in history. Okay, a lot of things. I always believe that we undersell ourselves. Okay,
I think that's very important because we have this innate underconfidence about ourselves,
yeah, we need to get
and
out of it.
we cut ourselves short quite a lot of the times, and that's yeah, that's very interesting actually. So Satyam says corruption is still there. Indian jugaad at work experience personally.
Yeah, yeah. I also experienced this personally. I've also experienced corruption. I've also experienced all these things. But you will continue to experience it. There's nothing very, you can't wish it away.
You can't.
You can't wish it away. You think there's no jugaad in Britain or Germany or everywhere there's jugaad,
No,
as per
there it's
there,
called lobbying.
whatever you call it. Okay. You think there's no corruption there? So let's not uh, think that you're the ace at corruption and jugaad. There are others who are equally good at it. Yeah,
I like Sir's idea of how assimilating our society is, and that people of India are the biggest strength. Just a comment.
there's just no doubt about it. Let's not ever doubt that our biggest strength is our own people. Our the kind of uh, knowledge and ideas which you have are something which a lot of people have to learn from. Okay, uh, unless you go and see people the way they exist where they are in all corners of India, you'll never understand it. There's no, in fact, there's no one Indian solution.
There are multiple. I
There are
think
multiple
jugaad
solutions.
is a better word to use in what you're saying right now.
Yeah, because everyone has a jugaad in his own way, in his own land, in his own place.
Indeed, yes, sir.
Yeah,
Uh, becoming a material superpower is a lofty goal really more important than becoming a spiritual superpower, which Bharat was at one point of time in history and yet one of the most powerful.
look, Bharat was never a superpower because of its spirituality. Let's be very clear about that. It was a superpower in the ancient time because of its a combination of spiritual and economic,
Military as
uh,
well.
yeah, military as well. You have to read this classic by Paul Kennedy, Rise and Fall of Empires.
Yeah.
Okay, so even tomorrow, if you think you're going to be only a spiritual superpower, I mean, we might be off the mark completely. What's going to make us great is a combination of everything, and a balanced approach is what is required. In any case, that's what our all our religions teach us. Balanced approach. Tell me one religion which talks of an imbalanced approach in life.
So we've got about 6 7 minutes for an hour. Let's just run through some of the comments. There are loads of them, and I really want to
Mm.
encourage a lot of the people who've written some questions, and most of them are comments. So we'll just run through them. How should we reclaim our epistemological originality? Does it have to be academic or through popular media?
We just have to be ourselves, everyone. It'll come up. You will filter up. Yeah.
So, a superpower needs an isolation with economic progress, like what happened with USA, miles away from European chaos. Did the problem in Pakistan bring roadblocks to our progress? Still, it pinches us.
Look, I would not talk of it as a superpower in that terms. What happened to Britain? Britain was the greatest superpower on this earth, right? With a lot
That's
of enemies in the Austro-Hungarian Empire or the French Empire and all that, but it still became a superpower. So, if you view it from that point of view only, then you look at the Mongol Empire. It was a empire which ruled almost three-fourths of the earth at that point of time, as it was known. It through it it grew through conquest and war and all that. So, in fact, I've written an article, Superpowers Past and Present. Again, you'll find it on my website, on part of my article. Every superpower in history has been different. We have to be our own, the way we are, and we will be. I might not live to see that day, but we will be.
Saibal says, contrary to the discussion, I believe devil's advocacy and self criticism is the essence of progress. We have grown and will keep growing because we criticize
Yeah,
ourselves.
I agree with you completely, Saibal. We have enough people to criticize. The difference between criticism and confidence is what I want to bring out. You can be critical of yourself, but you need to have the confidence of going ahead, overcoming that criticism logically, not through dogma, not through blindness of just opposing a system for the sake of opposing it. Yeah.
We did it as individuals and not a collective. Your thoughts on how to build this collective and fuel a future, not rest on individuals that have achieved.
How do you, I mean, again, empirically, if you see, we have not progressed a single individual. We have progressed as a nation. Again, uh, if you look at the surface issues, you'll always see individuals come up. After all, it is the individuals who make the society. All of us make the society, right? Now you look at things like, say, Operation Flood, milk. I mean, why am I getting back to it? It represents our collectivity, or for that matter, the Green Revolution. It again represents our collectivity. We did it as a collective. At some point, yes, individuals mattered, but they all contributed to the collective effort. You look at the Indian Armed Forces. We did it as a collective entity, whatever we did. So, while individuals do matter and they will always dominate the society at some points of time, but the collective will of the people has to support them. And that we have done. This is a conflict which will always be there, but I think we've done well as a collective society. Again,
This conflict
it's
is everlasting, sir. I mean, till the time
yeah, yeah.
you have human beings,
Again,
it will always be there.
it's a matter of how you look at it and on what time span you look at it.
Yeah.
Okay, uh, we'll leave it at that.
Yuri Bezmenov told one of the ways to break a society is to demoralize them. Are we by underselling? Have we been demoralized?
I don't know who Yuri Bezmenov is. I'm not that well read. Let me be very.
No, no, this guy, sir, he's done some videos about how the Soviet influence was there in Russia. So he's
Look,
basically broken down.
I don't know who he is at all. Look, we've gone through a period of 3 centuries of trauma as a society of colonialism. We're just 75 years into getting back to what we are. Before colonialism, we never existed in the form we are existing today. Today, you're in a different form. You're a young nation. You'll have to progress. You'll have to go through these. conflicts and these contradictions. We'll do that.
Yeah, the nation state theory came out very late in history, as a matter of fact. So,
Yeah.
I mean, there's a whole separate argument right there, which is
Yeah.
coming
So
up.
we.
So,
So what is, you really can't compare what was earlier to now, uh, but you can draw lessons from earlier to now for
this
the
is in
future.
sorry,
Yeah.
sorry, my
Yeah. For
apologies.
the future, that is.
This is an interesting comment. Any expert does not have to have an inherent need to prove himself. A confident person does not look for validation. I feel as a culture we are more evolved and need not have the badge of a developed country.
How developed, you don't need any badge from anyone. Let's be very clear. We never sought that badge. People who sought the badge are the underconfident people. You have to do what's good for yourself and what's best for yourself and feel good about it. End of story.
I'm going to, this is the last comment I'm going to take, and I really appreciate Mandar for writing this. And I just want to find it. Mandar, I can't find this thing you wrote. We have golden days ahead. It is somewhere in the lost in the loads of comments that I've got. Here it is. So I just wanted to put that up. I think that's the moral of the story. Uh, we have golden days ahead with probably little trouble here, little trouble there, and I think that's something that, sir,
Yeah,
you've
I
brought
think
out. Any closing comments, sir?
I think let me put it this way. I'll not talk of a golden day or dark days ahead. We have to continue to just do what we've been doing as a nation for ourselves. The people of India have to decide what they need for themselves. And the way I look at it, peace, progress, and take care of that weakest Indian. If we can take care of that weakest Indian, I think we are the strongest nation on earth. And I leave it at that.
Absolutely, sir. And have confidence in ourselves, if I may humbly add that, please.
Yep.
Uh, have confidence in our system, peace, progress, of course. Uh, the last mile is something that you've spoken about. I think that is very, very relevant, uh, which I think all of us need to look at, and that's something, the last mile delivery, as it's called in the service industry, which is the most critical thing. So I think a lot of us who are working in that industry will understand what sir is getting to. But one of the things that comes out of this conversation, and I'd just like to say this, is that India has with it what a lot of countries don't. And I'm not trying to be proud of it and this and that. I mean, of course, I am proud of it, but I'm not trying to boast. We've got the opportunity, we've got the brains, we've got the people, we've got the place, we've got everything going for us. We've been, we can regret what happened to us and say, okay, this is what was it, accept our history and move forward. Or we can spend our time abusing our past. The choice is with us, and I'd leave it at that, sir. Thank you so much. This has been a beautiful episode. I think we've not got into too many technicals about geopolitics and this and that, but we've just actually overall covered a very large blanket of issues, and
Yeah.
that's something, sir.
I, I'd like to just leave a point
Sir,
with you.
please.
We've discussed this episode, a lot of things in this episode, but I would request readers to read my two articles to understand what I'm talking of. India as a third pole and the geo-economic rise of India, which you'll find on the Gunner shot, right? And then if you see this video, you'll find a lot of things falling in place.
And the most important thing that came out, and I think all of us would agree, is that we need to uh, look at ourselves the way a lot of other people look at ourselves.
Yeah,
Because you know, for God's sake,
I
because
agree with
their country's ambassadors and their diplomats are running to India day after day. There has to be a reason for that. Let's just please look at that and kind of figure it out. Sir, thank you so much. As usual, it's today was a different episode and I feel a different energy, and that's something that is very, very nice, sir. Thank you so much. We're far away. Hope you have a great day ahead. And guys, thank you so much for joining in. Like, subscribe, and please, if you can, do help out the Dev Talks efforts. You can check out Sir's website for the articles and a lot more, and mine for some of the little things that I also do. Till next time with General Shankar, probably on the weekend. Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.